Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're doing something a little different. We're plunging into the AI landscape as it is right now, May 28th, 2025.
And the interesting twist.
The twist is that our source material, well, it was researched and generated entirely by AI.
So AI reporting on AI.
Exactly. Think of it as a unique lens, maybe a shortcut, to getting up to speed on the very latest in artificial intelligence today.
Yeah.
We're calling this the AI Daily Deep Dive, and the mission is simple. Quickly pull out the most important insights from these sources. We've got 5 key developments lined up.
And what really jumps out, even just looking at the headlines, is the sheer speed of everything.
Right.
And how these stories touch on so many different things. I mean, just today's news cycle hits culture, labor, the economy, even fundamental science and government security. It's everywhere.
Absolutely. So let's dive into the first one. This one kind of bridges the gap between fiction, entertainment, and what's happening in AI labs right now.
Yep.
According to the sources, Jonathan Nolan's show Person of Interest, remember that one?
Vaguely, yeah. Finished a while back.
Yeah, ended in 2016. Well, apparently it predicted some current AI stuff with almost spooky accuracy.
Really? Like what?
Well, the show's main thing was an AI, the machine, right? It could listen in, understand speech, predict what people would do.
Okay, standard sci-fi trope, maybe.
Maybe, but get this. Plots involve characters fighting over GPUs. The chips you need for AI, and there was even a rival AI that needed massive amounts of power. Sound familiar?
Huh. Okay, yeah, the GPU scramble and the energy needs.
Right.
That definitely rings a bell with today's headlines.
Right. And Nolan, who, let's not forget, worked on huge films like The Dark Knight, Interstellar, and co-created Westworld, he says people bring up Person of Interest more than almost anything else these days.
Interesting. So does he think he predicted the future?
He says it wasn't really prophecy, more like just seeing the pieces that were right there, the underlying trends.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And it kind of connects to this long history, doesn't it? AI concepts have been in our culture forever. 2001, OPIC coining robot, even Frankenstein or the Golem myths. We've been thinking about intelligent machines for centuries.
Yeah, that's a good point. And the sources also bring up Westworld, his other big show. Apparently, tech people, including Sam Altman, actually drew inspiration from it.
How so?
Nolan mentions specific conversations he's had with AI researchers. They're looking into ideas similar to the reveries in Westworld.
Oh, the reveries. Those were like subtle behaviors tied to supposedly erased memories in the AI hosts, right? Accessing them led towards self-awareness.
Exactly. And Nolan says memory has become a key topic in AI research now, and some researchers are actually referencing that fictional concept from his show.
Wow. So fiction directly influencing AI development. Nolan apparently wondered if he should feel alarmed or flattered by that.
Yeah, it's a strange feedback loop, isn't it?
Definitely.
And speaking of creators and AI, the sources mentioned his take on using AI for his own writing.
Let me guess. Not a fan.
Not at all. Oh, God, no. He called it crossing the Rubicon. For him, art needs that human intention behind it.
Which, brings us neatly to the next story. From the human intention behind AI stories to the human labor building the AI systems.
Exactly, a very different angle. This one's from The Nation, and it looks at the often invisible human workforce powering AI. Specifically, contractors working on Google's AI products who are trying to unionize.
Right, the super raiders.
Yeah.
People like Ricardo Lavario mentioned in the report. Their job is absolutely critical.
Critical how?
They evaluate the AI's responses, they refine them, they essentially teach the AI. Without that constant human feedback loop, these complex models just wouldn't be nearly as effective or reliable.
So they're doing essential work for a tech giant like Google, but the conditions aren't great.
That's what the report details. They're often classified as temporary workers, so think no paid time off, no holiday pay, and many are hired through subcontracting agencies, which means they earn significantly less than direct employees because the agency takes a cut.
So you have this core issue. They're doing vital work for a huge profitable company, but they don't have the benefits or the job security you'd normally associate with that.
It's a major disparity. The report mentions one contractor, GlobalLogic, employs about 1,400 of these raiders for Google.
And the unionizing effort? Is it going smoothly?
Doesn't sound like it. They faced resistance, and the report mentions Ricardo Lavario was actually terminated back in February, apparently connected to conflicts around the union campaign.
Oof. Do they have any recourse?
Well, they've filed complaints with the National Labor Relations Board, but the sources suggest their current legal options might be limited.
Hmm.
And this isn't just about one company, you know. The report frames it as a broader trend in tech. Using subcontractors can distance the main company from employer responsibilities. It really highlights why collective action is becoming so important for these workers.
Yeah, it really does. Okay, so we've touched on the human cost of building AI. What about the human cost when AI is deployed? The next story tackles that head on. It's a pretty stark warning.
Yeah, this one comes via Axios from an interview with Dario Amodei. He's the CEO of Anthropic, a major AI company.
And he's warning specifically about white-collar jobs, right?
So that's right, and the number he threw out are significant. He warned that generative AI and these new autonomous agents could displace up to 50% of entry-level white-collar jobs.
50%? Wow. And over what time frame?
This is the kicker. As little as 1 to 5 years.
1 to 5 years. That's incredibly soon. Which sectors?
He listed finance, legal services, consulting, marketing, even tech development itself. Basically, areas with a lot of entry-level roles.
And why is this happening so fast?
Well, the report explains it's because AI is getting really good, really quickly, at handling what they call routine and procedural tasks.
Like what kind of tasks?
Things like drafting standard documents, writing basic code, doing initial financial forecasting, handling many customer service interactions, analyzing data, tasks that form the bulk of many entry-level positions. AI can do these workflows now, often faster and cheaper.
Okay, so what does that translate to in terms of overall unemployment?
Amodei's projection, based on the current path of AI adoption, is potentially 10% to 20% unemployment in the U.S. The report compares that scale to the manufacturing job losses back in the 80s and 90s.
That's huge. Is anyone listening?
That's Amodei's big concern. Complacency. He worries that executives, politicians, the public, people might not really get how fast this is moving until they're affected by it directly.
It's pretty powerful hearing that from the CEO of a leading AI company.
Exactly. He's in this position of both promoting AI's potential for good, but also sounding this very loud alarm from inside the industry. He really stresses the need to manage this transition carefully.
Does he offer any solutions? Or just the warning?
No. The report mentions some ideas he's floated. One is a token tax, basically taxing AI outputs or revenue to fund things like social safety nets or worker retraining. He also calls for proactive government action. Things like setting up regulatory guardrails, funding retraining programs, maybe even rethinking welfare systems.
Yeah.
And transparency, he says, is key through all of it.
The fact that this warning comes from within the AI industry itself, that definitely makes you pause.
It really does.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's shift gears completely now. From the economic impact to something totally different, pure scientific discovery.
Right. This next story is pretty exciting. It's about an AI breakthrough in understanding our own biology, reported by phys.org.
Yeah, this is cool. Researchers at the University of Missouri developed an AI tool, and what it does is predict the 3D structure of chromosomes.
Okay, but what's the breakthrough part?
The breakthrough is that it can do it in single individual cells. Traditionally, scientists had to average data from millions of cells to get a structure.
So instead of an average picture, you see the variations between cells.
Exactly, and that variability is important. Remember, chromosomes carry all our genetic info, like 6 feet of DNA packed into a tiny nucleus.
Yeah.
How it's folded is critical.
Why critical?
Because the folding controls which genes get turned on or off. And when the folding goes wrong, well, that's linked to diseases, including cancer.
Got it. So how does the AI work?
It was developed by Yanli Wang and Jianlin Jack Cheng. It uses advanced algorithms to analyze something called single-cell high-C data.
High-C data?
Yeah, basically maps which parts of the DNA strand are physically close to each other in 3D space inside that single cell. But this data is often messy, noisy, incomplete.
And the AI can handle that.
That's the impressive part. It's designed to deal with those imperfections, find the patterns in the sparse data, and estimate the complex 3D structure anyway. It can even recognize known biological structures no matter how they're oriented in the data.
How accurate is it?
According to the report, when they tested it on reconstructing human chromosome structures, it showed more than double the accuracy compared to older methods.
Wow, double the accuracy. That's a big jump.
Huge. It could lead to much deeper insights into gene regulation, how diseases start at the cellular level, and importantly, the researchers made the software freely available.
That's great. So scientists anywhere can use it.
Yep, globally. They want to empower the whole scientific community.
What's next for this tool?
They plan to extend it to reconstruct high-resolution structures of entire genomes at the single-cell level. Imagine seeing the complete 3D map of our DNA within individual cells.
That sounds incredible. Okay, so for our final story, we're shifting again, this time to AI, where it meets government and, well, big contracts.
Right. This one's from Reuters, and it involves Senator Elizabeth Warren. She's calling for more competition in how the Pentagon buys AI technology.
And this is related to Elon Musk.
It seems to be prompted, at least in part, by concerns over Musk's AI chatbot, Grok, potentially getting a big foothold in federal government operations.
What's Warren's specific concern?
She's worried about monopolistic behavior. If one or two big players dominate defense AI contracts, she argues it could drive up costs, concentrate risks if something goes wrong with that one vendor, and ultimately stifle innovation because smaller players get squeezed out.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What's the issue with Grok specifically?
Well, the Reuters report that spurred this mentioned that Musk's XAI team is reportedly looking to expand Grok's use to analyze sensitive government data.
Sensitive government data. That sounds risky.
Exactly. It raises flags about potential conflicts of interest and huge concerns about the security of potentially sensitive information on millions of Americans if it's being handled by a commercial AI platform.
So what is Senator Warren asking for?
She sent a letter to the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth. The report says she wants details on the DoD's whole AI buying strategy. How are they making sure they don't get locked into one vendor? What safeguards are there to ensure government data isn't improperly used to train commercial AI models?
And the timing is interesting.
Yeah, the report, it notes this letter landed around the same time Hegseth actually met with Musk and his XAI team.
Just to give a sense of scale here,
Yeah.
the DoD budget is massive.
Coaching $1 trillion a year.
Hmm.
And they accounted for over half of all federal contracting money last fiscal year. So how they handle AI procurement is a really big deal.
Yeah.
This whole situation touches on those broader themes again, doesn't it? Data privacy, ethics, the potential for monopolies when big tech gets deeply embedded in government functions. It really underlines the need for clear rules and competitive bidding.
So Warren's goal, based on the source, is pretty clear. Procurement strategies that boost competition, stop consolidation, and protect government data.
Precisely.
So quite a journey today. We went from AI popping up in old sci-fi shows
The real people building it now, sometimes under tough conditions,
to warnings about its impact on jobs.
then a leap into how it's helping us understand our own DNA.
And finally, the high-stakes world of government contracts and national security.
It really does underscore how AI is weaving itself into almost every part of life.
It feels like it's accelerating, too.
Definitely. And what ties all these threads together, I think, is that constant tension. The speed of development is incredible, but it forces these huge questions on us about our role as humans, about ethics, about how we guide this thing responsibly. That comes through in every single one of these stories.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe the question for you listening is this. Considering everything we've touched on today, from fiction to jobs to science to security, how do you think we should strike that balance? How do we embrace these powerful AI tools while also being smart and careful about understanding and mitigating the disruptions they could bring?
Something to chew on.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.